Jack Wright stood at the observation deck of the U.S. horizon, watching the massive alien ships approach. The ships glowed with strange blue lights and were 5 times larger than the biggest human vessel. Jack's hands tightened on the railing. After years of training other Marines how to fight, he never expected to represent all of humanity. The message had arrived 3 months ago. Aliens were real, and they wanted to meet. They called themselves the Galactic Consortium, 17 different species who shared the stars. Now they wanted to know if humans deserved to join them. "Nervous?" asked Captain Lily Bennett as she joined him at the window. "No, ma'am," Jack lied. His short brown hair was perfectly trimmed, his blue uniform spotless. At 34 years old, Jack had spent 16 years in the Marines. He specialized in teaching soldiers how to fight when they had nothing but their bodies as weapons. "It's okay to be nervous, right?" Captain Bennett said. "You're about to meet actual aliens. First human to ever do that." Jack nodded. "I just hope they're friendly." "That's why you're here," she reminded him. "If they're not, we need someone who can show them humans aren't easy targets." The communication system buzzed. "Captain, they're requesting permission to send over representatives," said the voice of Communications Officer Paul Green. "Grant permission," Captain Bennett replied. "Prepare the welcome area." Jack followed the captain to the ship's main hangar. Scientists, diplomats, and military personnel gathered in a semicircle. Jack stood in the back, watching carefully as the hangar doors opened. The aliens who entered weren't what Jack expected. The first looked almost human, but with purple skin and eyes too large for its face. Behind it came something like a giant insect walking on 2 legs. Next was a being that seemed made of shifting blue gel. 2 more followed, one covered in fur with 4 arms, another that looked like a walking plant. "Welcome to the U.S. horizon," said Dr. Susan Miller, Earth's chief diplomat. "We are honored by your presence." The purple humanoid stepped forward. "I am Kelnar, speaker for the consortium. We have watched your species with great interest." Jack studied each alien, noting how they moved, their apparent strength, their likely weaknesses, old habits from combat training. The meeting lasted hours. The aliens explained that the consortium controlled most of the galaxy. Any new species wanting to join had to prove themselves worthy. They seemed impressed by human technology, but troubled by Earth's history of war. "Your species fights too much," said the insect-like alien named Zrek. "You might bring violence to the stars." Dr. Miller began to object, but Kellner raised a hand. "This is why we propose a test. The Great Games." Jack listened as they explained. Every decade, the consortium held competitions where species tested their abilities against each other. The next games would begin in 1 month. "Send your best representative," said Kellner. "Let them compete in the arena. Show us humans can control their violent nature." Later, in the ship's conference room, Earth's leaders debated via video link. "They want us to fight to prove we're not violent," asked the American president. "That makes no sense." "Not exactly," Dr. Miller explained. "The arena is just one event. It tests restraint and skill, not killing ability. Weapons are banned." "That's why I suggested Wright," said Captain Bennett. "He's our best hand-to-hand combat expert. If anyone can win without actual weapons, it's him." All eyes turned to Jack. He didn't want this responsibility, but he understood what was at stake. "The rules?" he asked. Dr. Miller checked her notes. "Force your opponent from the ring or make them surrender. No weapons allowed. Each species sends 1 competitor." Jack thought about the aliens he'd seen. Most looked stronger than any human. Some had natural armor or extra limbs. This wouldn't be easy. "I'll do it," he said finally. "When do we leave?" 1 week later, Jack boarded a small ship bound for Nexus Prime, the massive space station where the Great Games would be held. As Earth vanished behind him, he wondered if he'd made a terrible mistake. What could one human do against the strongest beings in the galaxy? And what would happen to Earth if he failed? Nexus Prime was bigger than Jack had imagined. The space station looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space. From his small ship's window, Jack could see thousands of lights and hundreds of alien vessels coming and going. "We're cleared to dock," said Kate Morgan, the communications specialist assigned to Jack's support team. Her red hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her green eyes watched the station with wonder. "Can you believe we're actually here?" Jack said nothing. He was too busy thinking about what waited for him inside. For 3 days on the journey, he had studied the data on known alien species. Most were stronger than humans. Some had natural armor. Others had extra limbs, or could move faster than any human athlete. Their ship docked with a gentle bump. Jack gathered his small bag of belongings and followed Kate and Alan Peterson, his skenobiologist advisor, through the airlock. The main hall of Nexus Prime was massive. The ceiling stretched so high Jack could barely see it. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange Jack couldn't tell which end was the front. "The competitors' quarters are this way," said a small floating robot that met them at the entrance. "Please follow me." As they walked, Jack felt eyes on him. Many aliens stopped to stare at the human. Some pointed. Others made sounds that might have been laughter. "They don't think much of us," Alan whispered. The scientist was thin and nervous, constantly adjusting his glasses. "I've been monitoring their communication channels. They're calling you the soft pink weakling." "Let them," Jack said. "Better if they underestimate me." Their room was simple but comfortable. Jack had just finished unpacking when a chime sounded. "All arena competitors must report to the main tournament hall for rules briefing," announced a voice in perfect English. Jack straightened his simple gray uniform and headed out. Kate and Alan wished him luck. The tournament hall was a circular room with a raised platform in the center. About 30 aliens of various species stood around it. Jack was the smallest competitor there. A tall blue alien with 4 arms stepped onto the platform. "Welcome to the 157th Great Games of the Galactic Consortium," it said in a voice that seemed to come from several places at once. "I am Director Mezcal, overseer of the arena competition." The director explained the rules. The arena was a circular ring 30 meters across. To win, a competitor must force their opponent out of the ring or make them surrender. Killing was forbidden. Medical teams would be standing by. Most importantly, no weapons were allowed. "The arena tests control, not brutality," said Director Mezcal. "We seek those who master themselves, not just their enemies." Jack listened carefully. These were rules he could work with. Hand-to-hand combat was his specialty. "The competition begins tomorrow," the director continued. "First match, Earth representative versus Verlox of Draxus Prime." All eyes turned to Jack, then to a massive 4-armed alien with gray skin. Verlox stood nearly 3 meters tall and looked like he was made of living stone. He looked at Jack and made a rumbling sound. "He's laughing," said a voice beside Jack. He turned to see a slim, blue-skinned alien with large eyes. "I'm Lyra of Aqualis. Verlox thinks you'll be an easy victory." "And what do you think?" Jack asked. Lyra's head tilted. "I think anyone chosen to represent their species deserves respect. But Verlox has never lost a match." Later, back in their quarters, Kate pulled up the data on Verlox's species. "Draxians come from a high-gravity world," she read. 3 times Earth normal. They're naturally strong and have 4 arms. Their skin is thick enough to resist most impacts." Alan looked worried. "Jack, maybe we should withdraw. Find another way to impress the consortium." Jack shook his head. "No, this is exactly what I trained for." He began stretching, preparing his body. "They banned weapons because they think that makes combat fair, but they don't understand." "Understand what?" Kate asked. Jack smiled slightly. "Humans turned their own bodies into weapons thousands of years ago. Tomorrow, I'll show them how." The arena was even larger than Jack had expected. A perfect circle of smooth white material, surrounded by rising seats filled with thousands of aliens. He stood at the entrance, listening to the roar of the crowd. "They're all betting against you," Kate said, checking her translator device. "The odds are 20 to 1 that Verlox will win in under 2 minutes. Jack nodded. "Good. That means they have no idea what humans can do." Alan handed Jack a small container of water. "Remember what we discussed. Verlox's species has great strength but poor flexibility. Their joints don't bend as well as ours. And their center of gravity is high," Jack added. "They're not used to being taken down." He handed the empty container back to Alan. "I'm ready." A chime sounded, and Director Mezcal's voice boomed across the arena. First match of the Great Games. Verlox of Draxus Prime versus Jack Wright of Earth. Jack walked into the arena. The floor felt slightly springy under his bare feet. Across from him, Verlox entered to thunderous cheers. The four-armed alien was even more intimidating up close. Each of his arms was thicker than Jack's leg. His gray skin looked like armor. They met in the center. Verlox looked down at Jack and spoke, his words translated through speakers for all to hear. "I will try not to break you, tiny human. Perhaps just throw you from the ring quickly so you are not too embarrassed." Jack said nothing. He bowed slightly, then took 3 steps back and settled into a ready stance. The signal to begin came as a flash of light. Verlox charged immediately, all 4 arms reaching for Jack. The crowd roared in anticipation of a quick victory. Jack didn't try to match strength with strength. As Verlox reached for him, Jack slipped to the side, his movement fluid and precise. Verlox's momentum carried him forward, and Jack helped it along, using the alien's own weight against him. In a move that looked almost gentle, Jack redirected Verlox's charge, adding just enough pressure to send the huge alien stumbling. The crowd grew suddenly quiet. Verlox turned, surprise clear on his face. He charged again, this time more carefully. 2 of his hands grabbed for Jack's arms while the others reached for his legs. Jack allowed one hand to catch his arm. When Verlox pulled, Jack moved with the pull instead of fighting it. He turned his body, stepped inside Verlox's reach, and used the alien's pulling force to increase the power of his throw. The sound of a 3-meter-tall, 4-armed alien hitting the arena floor echoed through the suddenly silent stadium. Verlox rolled quickly to his feet, now visibly angry. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. "No tricks," Jack replied calmly. "Just Aikido, a human fighting art developed for dealing with stronger opponents." Verlox roared and charged again. This time, Jack used a different technique. He dropped low, swept Verlox's legs, and used the alien's forward momentum to send him tumbling. Verlox rolled dangerously close to the edge of the ring. The match continued for 10 minutes. Verlox never managed to land a solid hit. Jack moved like water, never opposing force directly but always redirecting it. He used throws, joint locks, and sweeps, techniques developed over thousands of years of human combat. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Many had never seen fighting like this before. Finally, Jack saw his opportunity. Verlox was tiring, his movements becoming slower. When the alien charged one last time, Jack stepped aside, gripped one of Verlox's arms, and used a perfect hip throw. The massive alien flew through the air and landed outside the ring. "Match concluded," announced Director Mezcal. "Victory to Earth representative." The silence that followed was profound. Then a few aliens began to applaud, then more, until the sound filled the arena. Jack bowed to Verlox, who was still staring in disbelief from outside the ring. Then he walked calmly back to where Kate and Alan waited, both with shocked expressions. "How did you make it look so easy?" Kate whispered. "It wasn't easy," Jack replied, finally showing his exhaustion. "But humans have been fighting stronger opponents for our entire history. We had to learn how to win without being the strongest." From the seats above, thousands of alien eyes watched Jack leave. They were seeing humans in an entirely new way. News of Jack's victory spread quickly through Nexus Prime. Aliens who had ignored the human before now watched him closely. Some even asked to touch his hands, as if looking for some hidden weapon or special power. 3 days after defeating Verlox, Jack sat with Lyra in the station's food hall. The blue-skinned alien pushed a bowl of something that looked like purple noodles toward him. "You should try these. They're quite good," Lyra said. "And you'll need energy for your next match." Jack tried the noodles. They tasted like spicy shrimp. "Who am I fighting next?" he asked. "Grex of the Vorn. They're calling it the match of the games." Lyra's large eyes studied Jack. No one has ever defeated a Draxian in single combat before. Now everyone is trying to understand how humans fight. Jack had noticed the increased attention. Alien scientists had requested scans of his body. Others had asked to record him performing basic movements. He had allowed some of it, but kept many human techniques private. The consortium scientists are confused, Alan told Jack later in their quarters. They've been studying the match recordings. They can't figure out how you defeated someone 3 times your size. Kate was reviewing messages on her translator. "The betting odds have changed. Now you're favored to win your next match." She looked up with concern. "Jack, I overheard something today. Some aliens aren't happy about your victory." "Who?" Jack asked. "A group led by someone named Drax. He's on the Consortium Council. I heard his assistants talking about how humans are too dangerous." Kate lowered her voice. "They said if humans can turn their bodies into weapons, what else might they weaponize?" Jack frowned. Politics wasn't his concern. He needed to focus on his next opponent. Grex of the Vorn was different from Verlox. Where the Draxian had been all power, Grex was fast. His species had evolved on a world with many predators. They had developed incredible speed and reflexes. The match was scheduled for the next day. That evening, Jack was preparing when there was a knock at their door. Alan opened it to find Director Mezcal. "Earth representative." The 4-armed blue alien said formally, "May I speak with you?" Jack invited him in. The director seemed uncomfortable. "I must warn you," Mezcal said finally. "There are some in the consortium who are concerned about humans joining our alliance. Your fighting methods have disturbed them." "I followed all the rules," Jack said. "No weapons. That is precisely what concerns them." The director's 4 hands made a complex gesture. Most species rely on their natural abilities. Claws, strength, speed. Humans have developed fighting methods that turn their bodies into weapons. Some see this as unnatural. Jack thought about this. "We developed these methods because we aren't the strongest or fastest. We had to find other ways to survive." "I understand," Mezcal said. "But be careful. Your next matches will be closely watched." After the director left, Kate shared more troubling news. "I intercepted a message. Someone plans to sabotage your match against Grex." "How?" Jack asked. "They'll give you water containing a drug that will slow your reflexes." Kate looked worried. "It's Council member Drax behind it. He doesn't want humans in the consortium." Jack considered their options. "Can we prove this?" Alan shook his head. "Not without causing a diplomatic incident. But I can prepare an antidote. It won't completely counter the drug, but it should help." The next morning, Jack prepared for his match against Grex. As predicted, an attendant brought him a sealed water container. Jack pretended to drink it but used a technique to hold the liquid in his mouth. When the attendant left, he spit it out and took Alan's antidote instead. The arena was packed even fuller than before. As Jack entered, he could feel the tension in the air. Some aliens cheered for him now. Others watched in suspicious silence. Grex waited in the center of the arena. The alien was tall and thin with golden skin that seemed to shimmer. He moved constantly, never still even while waiting. "Human," Grex said when Jack approached. "I studied your victory over Verlox. Your techniques won't work on me. I'm too fast." Jack just nodded and took his position. Despite Alan's antidote, He could feel some effect from the drug he'd been exposed to. His reactions were slightly slower than normal. This would be a much harder fight. The signal to begin flashed, and Grex moved so fast Jack barely saw him. A golden blur circled the arena. Then Jack felt a sharp pain as Grex struck his side and disappeared again. Jack turned slowly, trying to track his opponent. His reflexes were dulled from the drug. Grex hit him twice more before Jack could even raise his hands. "Too slow, human," Grex taunted as he dashed past. "Your tricks won't work on me." The crowd was cheering for Grex now. Many aliens stood, shouting encouragement. In the special section for officials, Jack glimpsed Council Member Drax watching with satisfaction. Another blur of movement, and Jack felt a hit to his back. He stumbled forward but kept his balance. The drug was making it hard to focus. He needed a new strategy. Jack stopped trying to follow Grex with his eyes. Instead, he closed them and listened. His training had included fighting while blindfolded. He focused on the sound of Grex's feet on the arena floor, the slight rush of air as he moved. Grex came in for another attack. This time, Jack moved at the last second. Not much, just enough that Grex's strike only grazed him. Jack's hand shot out, fingers brushing against the alien's arm as he passed. Jack opened his eyes. He hadn't stopped Grex, but he had touched him. Progress. "He's looking for patterns," Kate said from the sidelines, watching intently. "Grex attacks the same way each time. If Jack can predict it." Jack was thinking the same thing. Every fighter had patterns, even one as fast as Grex. The alien was circling clockwise, striking, then retreating. Jack began to time the attacks in his head. The next time Grex came in, Jack was ready. He didn't try to match Grex's speed. Instead, he predicted where the alien would be and placed his hand there just before Grex arrived. His palm struck Grex's chest. The alien stumbled, surprised. The crowd gasped. "How did you?" Grex started, but Jack was already moving. Jack switched to boxing techniques now. He kept his guard up and moved forward steadily. When Grex attacked again, Jack blocked the strike and countered with a quick jab that caught the alien on his shoulder. "He's using a different fighting style," Alan said, amazed. "First Aikido against Furlocks, now boxing against Grex." "Humans have hundreds of fighting styles," Kate replied. "We develop them for different situations, different opponents." In the arena, Jack continued to adapt. As he learned Grex's patterns, he switched to techniques from Muay Thai, then wrestling. Each time Grex thought he had figured out Jack's style, the human changed to something new. The drug was still affecting Jack. He was slower than normal, and his vision sometimes blurred. But his mind remained clear. He kept analyzing, adapting, finding new ways to counter Grex's speed. 15 minutes into the match, both fighters were tiring. Grex had never had to fight so long before. His attacks became more desperate. Jack waited for his opportunity. It came when Grex charged directly at him. Instead of dodging, Jack timed his move perfectly. He dropped low, grabbed Grex's leg as the alien passed, and used the momentum to flip Grex through the air. The golden alien landed hard near the edge of the ring. Before he could recover, Jack was on him. Using wrestling holds, Jack pinned Grex down. The alien struggled but couldn't break free. "Submit," Jack said through heavy breaths. "You can't escape this hold." After a few more seconds of struggle, Grex tapped the floor 3 times, the signal for surrender. "Victory to Earth Representative," announced Director Mezcal. The arena erupted in cheers and confused shouts. No one had expected the human to defeat the lightning-fast Grex, especially after taking so many hits early in the match. Jack helped Grex to his feet. The alien looked at him with new respect. "How did you beat me when I'm so much faster?" Grex asked. "Speed isn't everything," Jack replied. "Humans learn to adapt. When we can't win one way, we find another." As Jack left the arena, He saw Council Member Drax watching him with cold eyes. The alien turned and walked away quickly, speaking urgently to his assistants. Jack had won the match, but he knew the real fight was just beginning. Jack sat in the medical area while Alan checked his injuries. His body was covered in bruises from Grex's attacks, and his muscles ached from the drug that had been in his system. "You should rest for at least 2 days," Alan said, applying a cooling gel to Jack's shoulder. "These bruises need time to heal." "Who's my next opponent?" Jack asked, ignoring the pain. Kate checked her device. "Krell of the Stonehide clan. He's the defending champion." She showed Jack an image of a massive creature that looked like a walking boulder with arms and legs. His skin is made of a rock-like material. He's never been hurt in the arena. Jack nodded slowly. "When is the match?" "Tomorrow," Kate said. Drax pulled strings to move it up. "He's not giving you time to recover." Lyra visited them later that evening. The blue alien brought food and news. "Everyone is talking about you, Jack," she said. "Half the station thinks you're amazing. The other half thinks humans are dangerous and shouldn't join the consortium." "And what do you think?" Jack asked. Lyra's large eyes blinked. "I think humans are interesting. You don't have claws or armor or special powers, but you've learned to use what you have better than any species I've seen." After Lyra left, Jack tried to sleep. His body needed rest, but his mind kept working. He needed a plan for Krell. The Stonehide's rock-like skin would make most strikes useless. Jack couldn't hurt him with punches or kicks. The next morning, Jack met with Alan and Kate before the match. "I studied everything we have on Krell's species," Alan said. "Their stone skin is nearly impossible to damage, but they have weak points." He showed Jack a diagram. "The joints are less protected, especially here and here." He pointed to areas on the neck and behind the knees. "And their balance isn't great," Kate added. "They evolved on a world with less gravity than Earth. In their normal environment, they'd move more easily. Here, they're heavier." Jack thought about this. "So I need to target the joints and use his weight against him." "Exactly," Alan said. "But Jack, even if you note his weaknesses, this won't be easy. You're still injured from yesterday." Jack knew Alan was right. His body hadn't recovered from the fight with Grex. But he had no choice. Earth's future in the consortium depended on his success. The arena was completely full when Jack entered. Word had spread about the human who could defeat opponents twice his size and 3 times his speed. Now everyone wanted to see if he could beat the undefeated champion. Krell waited in the center of the ring. He was even more impressive in person. Nearly 3 meters tall, with skin that looked like gray granite. His eyes were small black dots in his rocky face. "Human," Krell rumbled, his voice like stones grinding together. "I will try not to kill you, but I make no promises." Jack said nothing. He bowed slightly and took his position. His bruised body protested every movement. In the officials section, Council Member Drax watched with cold satisfaction. Next to him sat a tall, elegant alien that Jack recognized as the head of the Consortium Council. The signal to begin flashed. Krell didn't rush forward like Verlox or move with blinding speed like Grex. Instead, he walked steadily toward Jack, each footstep shaking the floor. Jack circled carefully. He needed to test Krell's defenses before committing to an attack. He darted in and delivered a quick strike to Krell's arm. Pain shot through Jack's hand. It was like hitting solid stone. Krell laughed. "Many have tried to hurt me, human. None have succeeded." The champion's massive arm swung toward Jack. Jack ducked under it and moved away. Even that simple movement made his injuries from yesterday flare with pain. This would be the hardest fight yet. Jack was injured, tired, and facing an opponent who seemed impossible to hurt. But as Jack circled Krell again, he was smiling slightly. Humans had spent thousands of years figuring out how to defeat stronger enemies. And Jack had a plan. Jack moved carefully around Krell, staying just out of reach of those massive stone arms. The champion grew frustrated and charged forward. Jack dodged, but not quickly enough. Krell's arm caught him and sent him rolling across the arena floor. Pain shot through Jack's already injured body. He got up slowly as the crowd roared. Many were cheering for Krell, but Jack noticed more aliens now calling his name too. "You fight well for a small creature," Krell said, "but you cannot win. You cannot hurt me." Jack didn't waste energy talking. He studied Krell's movements, looking for patterns. The stone giant was powerful, but moved in straight lines. He didn't turn quickly. Jack darted in again, this time aiming for the back of Krell's knee, one of the weak points Alan had identified. His strike landed precisely, and Krell grunted in surprise. The champion's leg buckled slightly. "So you found a soft spot," Krell rumbled. "It will not be enough." For the next 10 minutes, Jack played a dangerous game of approach and retreat. He couldn't match Krell's strength or withstand many hits, but he could target the champion's few vulnerabilities and slowly wear him down. Jack used techniques from many human fighting styles, precise strikes from karate to the joints, wrestling moves to unbalance the bigger opponent, jiu-jitsu approaches that used leverage instead of strength. From the sidelines, Kate and Alan watched nervously. "He's amazing," Kate whispered. "Look how he adapts with each exchange." "But he's taking too much damage," Alan replied with worry. "He can't keep this up much longer." In the officials section, Council member Drax looked increasingly concerned. He had expected Krell to make quick work of the injured human. The head of the Consortium Council watched with growing interest. 20 minutes into the fight, both competitors showed signs of fatigue. Krell was slower now, and Jack's precision strikes to the joints had taken a toll. But Jack was also reaching his limit. His earlier injuries had reopened, and new bruises covered his body. "You have earned my respect, human," Krell said during a brief pause. "No one has lasted this long against me." "The match isn't over yet," Jack replied, catching his breath. Krell launched a new attack, swinging both massive arms. Jack ducked under one but couldn't avoid the other. It caught him in the chest and sent him skidding toward the edge of the ring. Jack stopped just short of the boundary line. The crowd gasped. One more push and Krell would win. The champion charged forward for the final blow. Jack waited until the last possible moment, then dropped to the ground and rolled. Krell's momentum carried him forward, and Jack helped it along with a leg sweep aimed at the champion's ankle. For a moment, Krell teetered at the edge of the ring, arms windmilling as he fought for balance. Jack sprang to his feet and used the last of his strength to deliver a perfectly placed push to Krell's back. The stone champion fell outside the ring with a crash that shook the entire arena. Silence fell over the crowd. Then the announcer's voice rang out, "Victory to Earth representative." The arena erupted in cheers. Even aliens who had bet against Jack now stood and applauded. They had witnessed something extraordinary, a fighter who won not through superior strength or natural weapons, but through skill, intelligence, and adaptability. Jack stood in the center of the ring, breathing heavily. His body was battered, but he had won. He looked toward the officials section. Council member Drax was gone, but the head of the Consortium Council was watching Jack with intense interest. As Jack left the arena, medical staff rushed to help him. Kate and Alan followed, beaming with pride. "You did it," Kate said, hugging him gently. "You beat the unbeatable champion." Jack managed a tired smile. It wasn't about being stronger. It was about being smarter. "The council wants to speak with you," Alan said, checking his device. "Tomorrow morning. I think you've changed some minds about humans." Jack nodded. One more challenge remained, convincing the consortium that humans deserved to join them among the stars. And somehow, he thought that might be the hardest fight yet. The Consortium Council chamber was a large circular room with seats rising in tiers. Jack stood in the center, still bruised from his fights but standing tall. Kate and Alan waited nervously behind him. 17 council members sat in the highest tier, one from each species of the consortium. The head of the council, a tall being with silvery skin named Tella, spoke first. Jack Wright of Earth, you have impressed many with your victories in the arena, but some are concerned about what those victories mean. Council member Drax stood. Humans claim to be peaceful, yet their representative defeated 3 champions using fighting techniques developed for war. They turned their own bodies into weapons. This shows humans are too violent to join our alliance. Murmurs filled the chamber. Jack could see some council members nodding in agreement with Drax. "May I speak?" Jack asked. Tella nodded. "You may." Jack looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many aliens as possible. "It's true that humans have many fighting styles," he began. "We developed them over thousands of years, but not for the reasons you think." He stepped forward. "Humans aren't the strongest species. We don't have natural armor or claws or poison. Early in our history, we were prey more often than predators. So you developed ways to kill more efficiently," Drax said. "That proves my point." "No," Jack replied calmly. "We developed ways to survive. Most human fighting arts were created by the weak to defend against the strong. Farmers created karate to protect their homes when weapons were banned. Slaves developed capoeira, disguising fighting moves as dance because they weren't allowed to train for combat." Jack demonstrated a few simple movements as he spoke. "These fighting arts aren't about violence. They're about balance, discipline, and respect. Many of them began as spiritual practices. They teach control, not destruction." Tella leaned forward. "Yet you used them to defeat opponents much stronger than yourself." "Yes," Jack agreed, "because that's what humans do. We adapt. We find solutions to problems that seem impossible. We turn disadvantages into strengths." He gestured to the council. "Each of your species evolved natural advantages. Some are strong, some fast, some have armor. Humans had to create our advantages through knowledge and discipline." Jack turned to face Drax directly. "You banned weapons in the arena thinking it would make things fair. But humans learned long ago that our greatest weapon isn't something we hold in our hands. It's knowledge. The understanding of physics, leverage, momentum. The ability to analyze an opponent and adapt to them." The chamber was silent now, all eyes on Jack. "You're afraid humans will bring violence to the stars," Jack continued. "But what we really bring is problem solving. The same thinking that created martial arts also gave us medicine, art, and science. We don't want to fight the galaxy. We want to learn from it and contribute to it." Kate stepped forward and handed Jack a small device. Jack activated it, and a hologram appeared showing humans practicing various martial arts. Not fighting, but training in disciplined groups, students of all ages learning together. "These fighting arts now serve to teach discipline and respect," Jack explained. "They preserve our history and connect us to our ancestors. They remind us that with knowledge and discipline, even the weakest can stand tall." He turned off the hologram. "Judge us not by the fact that we can fight, but by how we choose when to fight and when not to. Humans want peace as much as any species." The council chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Then Tella spoke. "I believe we have misjudged humans," she said slowly. "We saw your fighting skills as evidence of violence. Now I see they are evidence of something more valuable. The ability to overcome challenges through intelligence rather than force." One by one, other council members nodded in agreement. Even Drax seemed less certain of his position. "The council will vote now," Tella announced, "on the question of whether Earth should be admitted to the Galactic Consortium." Jack, Kate, and Alan waited anxiously as the council members entered their votes. Finally, Tella looked up. "By a vote of 12 to 5, Earth is welcomed into the Galactic Consortium," she declared. "Not despite your differences, but because of them. The galaxy needs problem solvers." The chamber filled with applause. Jack smiled as Kate and Alan hugged him. Earth had found its place among the stars. And it had happened because when they banned weapons in the arena, humans had applied their hands, not as tools of violence, but as instruments of knowledge, discipline, and peace.